I'm Lise Leblanc, therapist, author, and life coach, and I've worked with countless men from all around the world who are trying to untangle the emotional confusion and chaos of a toxic relationship, often wondering whether they're dealing with someone with untreated borderline personality disorder, covert narcissism, or maybe even both. In part one of this video, I shared 5 key differences between these two disorders, and today I'll be sharing 5 more. And I will also tell you what I believe is the most important distinction of all, which I'll be sharing at the end of this video. These points are in no particular order, so you can watch this video first, and I have linked part 1 for you in the description section. Now, obviously, it's not your job to label or diagnose anyone, but understanding these differences can give you the clarity that you need to stop second guessing yourself and start healing. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off in no particular order. Number 6 is jealousy and competition. A woman with untreated borderline personality disorder tends to experience jealousy at a deep, visceral level. It's that intense fear of abandonment. So, if you glance in someone else's direction, spend time with others, or seem emotionally distant or distracted, she may interpret this as a threat. Her fear and insecurity may come out in all kinds of ways. She may react with angry accusations, emotional meltdowns, desperate attempts to pull you back in, or even impulsive or self-harming behaviors. The reality is she is trying to control your attention and your emotional availability because without it, she feels like she's drowning emotionally. A covert narcissist, on the other hand, doesn't panic when she feels threatened. She gets strategic, and her jealousy isn't about losing connection, it's about losing admiration and status. She wants to be seen as the most important, the most caring, and the most admired person in the room, the one that no one else can compete with. So if your attention drifts to anyone else, a friend, a coworker, your own child, she may not show overt jealousy, but you'll feel it through those subtle digs, passive aggressive comments, guilt tripping. But she won't admit that she's jealous. Instead, she'll shift the focus back onto herself, make you feel like you did something wrong, and usually smear the people she feels threatened by. And in many cases, she will project her jealousy and envy onto others, accusing them of being jealous and envious of her. Number 7 is emotional sensitivity and reactivity. So both women with borderline personality disorder and covert narcissism can be highly emotional and reactive. But for the borderline, her emotions are raw, real, messy, and all over the place, where the highs are just as extreme as the lows. A covert narcissist, on the other hand, has a more limited emotional range. So after the love bombing phase, if you even get that, they tend to mostly display anxiety and anger. So there's often a constant sense of stress and dissatisfaction, like a dark cloud energy that's suffocating and sometimes hard to name. Number 8 is manipulation and deceit. When a woman with borderline personality disorder is emotionally triggered, she may engage in behavior that feels very manipulative. Things like emotional blackmail, frantic threats, impulsive decisions, emotional outbursts, and behaviors that sabotage the relationship. These actions are usually rooted in overwhelming fear, especially the fear of abandonment, but they are not calculated. They are reactive. And while that doesn't make it okay, it does mean it's coming from a place of emotional dysregulation and it's not strategic. So one key difference here is that women with untreated borderline personality disorder will often blurt out exactly what they're thinking, and they will often confess to whatever it is that they may have done while they were dysregulated. Even if it's intense, inappropriate, or harmful, the truth usually comes out in waves of emotion. So you might feel manipulated, but you're not usually being deliberately deceived. If anything, there's sometimes too much raw honesty. Covert narcissists, on the other hand, manipulate in much more calculated and concealed ways. So instead of telling the truth, they tend to lie by omission, telling you just enough information to keep control while hiding key details that might make them look bad or give you too much power. The ninth difference is in their sense of entitlement. A woman with borderline personality disorder expects a lot in terms of emotional validation, reassurance, and constant connection on her terms. But these expectations stem from fear, not from a sense of entitlement or superiority. When she lashes out, it's often because she's scared, hurt, or feels emotionally unsafe, not because she thinks she deserves special treatment. The covert narcissist, on the other hand, often carries a persistent sense of entitlement. She expects you to meet her needs, prioritize her feelings at all times, and to support her image, even if it costs you your well being. And if you don't live up to her expectations, she pulls away and punishes you through coldness, criticism, and contempt. What's incredibly confusing is that this entitlement is often masked in self-pity. So she doesn't necessarily demand things outright. She implies, she makes you feel like a failure, like a disappointment, like nothing you do is ever good enough. Number 10 is self-awareness and apologies. And this, in my opinion, is the most important distinction of all because it speaks to the potential for change. A woman with borderline personality disorder can say and do extremely hurtful things, but afterward, she often feels remorse. Her apologies can be emotional, sincere, and sometimes heartbreaking. She may not know how to repair the damage, and she may do it again, but at least she can admit to it a lot of the time. And it's in that self-awareness that there's an opportunity for healing. So if she is willing to engage in intensive therapy, especially treatments like dialectical behavior therapy, she can learn to build healthier relationships and to create some lasting changes in terms of emotional regulation. When it comes to a covert narcissist, there's often very little genuine self-awareness. True self-awareness means being able to reflect honestly on your own behavior, acknowledge the harm you're causing, take responsibility for it, and get the help you need in order to change. Unfortunately, a covert narcissist rarely does this because they don't have the capacity for self-awareness, and admitting fault would mean cracking the image that she's built her whole identity around. And it's this lack of capacity for self-awareness that makes real change so unlikely with a covert narcissist. Because if someone can't see their own patterns or refuses to acknowledge them, no amount of pleading or hoping will change the outcome. The cycle will just keep repeating, and you'll keep paying the price. If you're in a relationship like this, please consider reaching out to a therapist in your area and taking my toxic relationship recovery program that I linked in the description section of this video. And to watch part 1 of this video, please click on the link above.